Welcome back to the Eternal Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob, and this is another wonderful episode of our pro wrestling fantasy booking series, Reckoning. Last episode was a pay-per-view action-packed filled event, Ground Zero. So if you not listened to that, go back and listen to it, because I will not be recapping the events. Some announcements for the show tonight. We have Macho Man Randy Savage taking on Kevin Owens. We have Drew McIntyre taking on The Sandman. Eddie Kingston versus RVD Rob Van Dam. Can Eddie Kingston get a win here and break his losing streak? Also, for our main event, the Young Bucks are reenacting their rematch clause as they take on the current tag team champions, Penta and Rey Mysterio. We get a shot of the outside of the arena as we are in Indianapolis, Indiana tonight for the show. We get, shots of the NWO partying in their limo before the event starts. We get Macho Man Randy Savage talking to Adam Copeland in the backstage area. We even see Drew McIntyre warming up as well. And then we get shots of the crowd. They are cheering. They're excited. We see the Eternal Wrestling Reckoning logo pop up on the Tron. And the show begins. Segment 1. The arena lights flicker and die before the static-filled NWO theme hits. And out comes our world champion, Hollywood Hogan. He's strutting down to the ring, and he's flanked by Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman. Everybody's wearing their NWO gear here, and they all enter the ring. Hogan, he grabs the mic, and the fans, they're booing him. They're saying, "You suck, you suck." They're pissed off that he was able to retain the title. Hogan goes on to say that, "I'm the greatest cage fighter of all time, and I have arrived, brothers. I told Drew, I told Randy, and I told the world that when you step inside this deal with the Hulkster, you're just a guest in my house." He mocks his two rivals and says that they were too busy trying to kill each other that they forgot to shut the door on the real threat. Hogan says that he stood tall and that their roadblock, Drew McIntyre and the Viper, can crawl to the back of the line and earn their way to face him again. He then goes on to tell The Undertaker that he can take his dead ass back to the graveyard because the NWO runs this place. On to segment 2, we see Kevin Owens making his entrance. "Fight, Owens, fight!" The crowd's chanting, and then Macho Man Randy Savage. He makes his way out. He's wearing a cowboy hat. He's got a jacket on with the tassels. He's, spinning around in circles. The fans loving it. He gets into the ring, and this match is underway. Macho Man, he's explosive, He's hitting like the double axe handle from the top to the floor early on. KO, he's fighting back with a cannonball to the corner. Brutal swanton bomb to Macho Man. Savage, he eventually catches KO with a series of jabs and a high-angle backdrop. Kind of an evenly paced match here. Not too many spots where it looks like one person may be getting the advantage over the other man. But then, as we near the finish of this match here, Savage, he's able to hit a body slam onto Kevin Owens. He's kind of beaten down from the action of this match, and he goes and he starts making that slow ascension to the top rope because he's looking for that Macho Man elbow drop. Then, out of nowhere comes Braun Strowman. He appears in the crowd. The crowd, they're screaming. He hops the barricade. He grabs on to Savage's ankle and also the top rope, causing Savage to crush himself. And then, the ref's shooing him off like, "Get the hell out of here, dude. What are you doing? This isn't your fight." Savage, since he crushes himself, he then falls off the top turnbuckle. Kevin Owens seizes the opportunity. Macho Man, he stumbles up to his feet. He's clutching his groin. KO hits the stunner, covers Macho Man. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens gets the win here. And then the camera pans back to show Braun Strowman. He's already jumped back over the barricade. He's laughing maniacally as he disappears back through the crowd. On to segment 3, we see Johnny Gargano. He's standing in the ring alone. A music, very somber tone mood here. He looks like he hasn't slept much, and he calls out his DIY tag team partner, Tommaso Ciampa. Ciampa comes out and he says, Gargano tells him, he's kind of getting emotional here as well. "We promised we'd take over the world, but lately, I feel like I'm holding us back. Maybe we aren't it anymore. I don't feel like I'm a good tag team partner. I shouldn't have started this fight with Finn Balor, and I lost at the pay-per-view. Tommaso, he raises the mic, because he's going to say something. But before he can even do that, the Acclaimed interrupt. Max Caster, he starts flying off the handle with a rap that's brutal, mocking Johnny Gargano's pity party and calling him yesterday's news. Anthony Bowens tells him to step aside for the new blood, and they challenge them to prove that DIY still belongs in the tag team division. Ciampa looks at Gargano and nods, accepting the challenge from the Acclaimed. On to segment 4, out comes the Sandman. This is a singles match here. He enters through the crowd, he's got the beer in his hand, he takes a couple swigs, smashes it over his forehead, and then out comes the Scottish Warrior, Drew McIntyre. Drew doesn't look happy. He is not thrilled with not getting that world title that he feels like he deserves. He comes out, he's wearing his black leather jacket, he's got his kilt on, he enters the ring, and the second he steps over those ropes, Drew McIntyre is all over Sandman. Doesn't even take his kilt off, doesn't take the jacket off. Pure brutality. He hits a massive overhead belly-to-belly suplex, followed by a Future Shock DDT on Sandman. Drew backs into the corner, counting down 3, 2, 1, connects with the Claymore to Sandman. But he doesn't pin Sandman here. Oh no. He pulls Sandman up and leans him in the corner. Sandman, he's kind of stumbling forward, trying to, get his bearings. Boom. Another big Claymore to Sandman. He stacks Sandman for a pinfall. 1, 2, 3. Gets the win here. Under 5 minutes. Drew McIntyre not giving a damn and continuing to push on despite being disappointed. But after the match, out comes Randy Orton. He appears on the stage. He's pacing. He's rubbing his chin, rubbing his bottom lip, and he's staring at Drew with predatory eyes, and he says, Drew, Ground Zero solved nothing. You're just a roadblock on my path to the title, and the Apex Predator is going to strike. Glares at Drew McIntyre. We then got to a commercial break. On to segment 5, the cameraman, he's running backstage in a hurry. The camera's shaking. There's security running around. It's just haywire. It's insanity. And we see that, trash is flying all around. We then see who's even doing this. It turns out to be Kane. He starts, throwing security guards around like rag dolls. He's destroying a catering table, smashing them up backstage monitor. Security's just trying to rush him, and Adam Pearce enters, running in with more security. Stop, stop, stop. He's screaming at Kane. I can't have you destroying the arena. I'll give you Dallas Page next week. A Falls Count Anywhere match. Just stop. Please stop. And then after that match, this is over. We are done with this. Kane, he had a security guard by the collar of the shirt. Kane freezes for a moment. He glares back at Adam Pearce. He nods, releases the security guard, and then walks out through the backstage hallway. Pearce turns around to see the Hardys waiting for him. Matt and Jeff. Matt speaks and he says, we need to talk. The NWO is a virus, and we might have a cure. On to segment 6, we see Rob Van Dam. One of a kind. He comes out for his match, and his opponent, the Mad King, Eddie Kingston. So this match, it's a contrast of styles. It's a high-flying, whole effing show athleticism of RVD with the more brawling style of Eddie Kingston. RVD, he hits a beautiful spinning leg drop over the guardrail to Kingston during the match. He's fighting back, chops, and he's marking up RVD's chest here. We eventually get in towards the finish of the match. RVD, he nails a rolling thunder on Kingston, and he heads to the top rope. He gets on the top rope. He's looking around really cocky as well, taking his sweet time once he's on the top rope. He stands up, does a Rob Van Dam finger points at himself. He jumps for the frog splash. But all of this time that he wasted, Eddie Kingston gets his knees up. Boom, right into the midsection of RVD. RVD is gasping for air. Then Kingston, he staggers to his feet. He lets out a roar and nails a spinning back fist onto Rob Van Dam. And then he collapses on top of RVD, hooking the leg. 1, 2, 3. Kingston finally breaks his losing streak. He rolls over, he's staring into the camera, and he just screams, "This is just the beginning." On to segment 7 here. We got the Acclaimed taking on DIY. So this is a high-speed tag team wrestling match here. DIY, they're looking like their classic version of themselves for a bit. Using their signature assisted spear. The Acclaimed, they're using their power advantage to isolate Gargano. So then Gargano, he's getting beaten down, but eventually makes the hot tag. Ciampa gets in, cleans house. In DIY, they set up for a meeting in the middle, but cast their ducks. And in the confusion of all this, Ciampa accidentally clotheslines Gargano as he was trying to overcompensate. The mic drop is hit on a dazed Ciampa, and Johnny Gargano gets thrown out of the ring. Ciampa is pinned here in the aftermath. And since Johnny was thrown out of the ring, he's just holding his jaw and walked to the back without looking at Ciampa. Ciampa, he's just left in the middle of the ring looking devastated and frustrated at what had happened. On to segment 8. Damian Priest enters the arena as he walks down the stage. A massive ovation. He looks at the screen, the Tron, and it's showing an image of the Vanguard Championship, the title. He says, Darby Allin, you know what? You put up a hell of a fight at Ground Zero, but I'm still standing. And as a competitor, I respect what you were able to accomplish. But now my eyes are set on the gold. And Seth Rollins, you say you're a visionary, but you can't see what's coming next. You know what? I want you at 100%, Seth. So you better heal up and heal up quick and watch your back. In segment 9, we see Greg the Hammer Valentine and Honky Tonk Man. They're in the middle of the ring in their sequin jumpsuits. They got their guitars. And they start a tone-deaf concert claiming that, no, we're the greatest tag team in history. And that, any team of losers or idiots can come out and experience our music. We have a commercial break, and then as we come back to segment 10, the lights go orange. A sound of crackling fire fills the arena. Bam Bam Bigelow makes his debut. He charges down to the ring. He doesn't wait for a partner. He levels Honky Tonk Man with a crossbody. Greg the Hammer Valentine swings his guitar at Bam Bam, and Bam Bam just punches through it, taking his fist right into the head of Greg the Hammer Valentine. He eventually powerbombs him through the announce table. After that, he decides that he's going to add some insult to injury. Climbs the ropes and hits a big, massive diving headbutt onto Honky Tonk Man. He stands in the middle of the ring just yelling. You can feel this man's intensity. And then, onto segment 11, our main event of the evening. Tag team title match. We see the Young Bucks come out. Super kick party. The cash goes popping out through the cannons, covering the crowd. They flex their muscles. Then out comes our tag team champions. First out is Rey Mysterio. Booyaka Booyaka 619. And his partner, Penta. Zero Miedo. Zero Fear. Penta makes his entrance. Both tag teams are in the ring. The ref, he lifts up the tag team titles above his head. The Bucks are looking on. They want their gold back. And they're done with the Kings of the Black Throne and the creepy antics, and they want to get back on the path to their winning ways. The bell rings, the match is underway. So eventually, Melted Drivers, they're countered into Poison Ranas, and Rey Mysterio, he eventually is able to hit a 619 on both of the Young Bucks simultaneously. The Young Bucks, they're hitting a series of super kicks, but Penta, he's refusing to stay down. He does his Zero Miedo hand signal taunt. He's taunting them every time. He's not going to stay down. Eventually, we work towards the end of the match here. The Bucks are going for a BT trigger. Penta dunks, and Rey hits a springboard crossbody. Penta catches Matt Jackson in the Fear Factor, while Rey is holding Nick back, and he's able to get the pinfall victory for his team here. The Young Bucks are feeling deflated, as they could not recapture their gold here. Penta and Rey Mysterio, they're hoisting up their tag team titles. They're celebrating, but the lights go black. And then they bleed into a bruised purple, very dark purple here. Aleister Black and Brody King appear on the entrance stage. Smoke surrounds them. They don't move. They don't attack. They simply stare at the tag team champions and they point, signaling that the Kings of the Black Throne are coming for them. The credits roll, and that is the end for our episode of Reckoning for this week. Exciting things are on the horizon. So next week we will see Kane taking on DDP in a Falls Count Anywhere match. This time, no count out, no disqualifications. It doesn't matter where they're at in the building or outside of the building. There will be a clear victor. DDP will not be able to run away. Also, what is on the horizon for Bam Bam Bigelow since he just debuted? What title is he going to go for? Or is he just going to target someone? Is DIY going to be able to maintain their tag team integrity? Or will they crumble as Johnny Gargano is losing his way? How will Seth Rollins respond to Damian Priest? Eddie Kingston finally breaks that losing streak. Can he continue this momentum going forward? What is next between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton? It seems like a brawl or a war is on the horizon. The NWO is still targeting Macho Man Randy Savage. What is he going to do to respond? All this and so much more as Reckoning continues. If you liked this episode, please consider liking, comment, and even subscribe. These episodes will air every Tuesday, and we are building towards our next pay-per-view, Rite of Passage. So, like always, whenever you decide to listen to this, I hope you guys enjoy it and have a lovely morning, afternoon, or night. And I'm your host, Jacob, and I will catch you guys in the next one.